Right, okay, so we've got all the elements for our track together. We've got the drums, we've got all the leads, the lead bass, we've got the layers for the breakdown, all made up and everything. We've got our effect in there, we've got the white noise and everything. So once we've got our elements, what we need to do is start arranging the track. So if I just zoom out on this project so you can see the full arrangement, what we've got going on here, and I'll talk you through it. Now, this is a sort of obvious arrangement for a club track for the kind of music that we're making. Depending on if you're doing a vocal mix or a radio mix or anything else, you probably would change the arrangement slightly. But for this track, this is how it works for us. So I'll talk you through how we've done it. So first of all, what we start off with is the intro. And now we always build our intro up by about a minute before it drops to the first breakdown or to the first sort of like drop in the track. And there's two ways we can do this. Is we can either keep your track building and building and building and building, and then when you get to a minute, everything kicks in and it keeps chugging along, which is a bit like what they do with techno tracks and trance tracks, things like that. Or we can build up to a minute and you can drop straight down to a breakdown, which is like what we've done. And that works really well because especially in this kind of music, there's a lot of fast mixing when it comes to DJs and things like that, and the intros are usually no longer than a minute in these tracks, and a lot of them you find are only 30 seconds. But with what we've got going on to build this up, we've kept to about a minute. So as you can see here, we start with quite minimal drums and just a little bit of something going on to sort of like keep everything going. Now, even though I'm giving these tips to you and explaining it all and giving you the project and everything, one thing that I do, which Mark Maitland told me, who's taught me a lot of things, he said always put something under your drums so that no one can steal your kick drum. And for years we used to sample kick drums out of tracks, and we got busted for it sometimes, and people did used to say to us that's my kick drum, and people can get quite funny about it. So I can understand now that I'm making my own kicks, and you can spot them a mile off in people's tracks as well. So there's a few people out there that have used our kicks, but I'm not as touchy as some people about it. But yeah, we just put something underneath the kick drums, so then if there's something going on in the background, they can't sample a clean kick out. So it's a little bit of a naughty trick that, but yeah, it's something we do. And then as you can see, what we've done is we've progressed with the drums and we've built them up as we're going through the track, up into this little sort of bridge class slash breakup build up thing before the breakdown. And I'll just play it all, and you can see as things comes in, you'll be able to hear them as well. Okay, so. So you can see how all the elements we've made, even though a lot of them are very simple to make, they're very effective when they're together because everything's got its own space in the mix and everything sort of works well together. Everything's works like a really good team, which is really good. So other thing that we've done there is just for the first 15 seconds we've got our kick, but what we've done is we've copied it to another channel, and using a wow filter, which is my favourite filter, we just bring the resonance down and we've just taken a bit out the bottom there, and then what that does is that just filters the real punchy bottom end out of the kick, so that you can sort of filter it out when you lead it in, which if we play just the kicks on their own, you'll be able to see what we've done there. there. So by doing that, that's another way of adding a bit of like depth and build up in your track as well in your intro. So we've just got a few effects in there as well. Nothing too mental going on. We've just got that little crazy thing that we've got in the breakdown going on, which adds like another. It's like a bit like a filler, just fills out the space. Hear that through everything. Just rising up and down and everything, it just keeps everything swelling and building all the way through. The other effects we've got in there, again, just simple effects, the ones that we was talking about before that we've made ourselves and saved. Just the odd few things, just you know, little things like this are great because they're just nice little touches inside your mix. And then I think this is a great little technique that we do as well, where we've done like, it's a little bit like, I don't really know how to describe it, like the proper name for it. It's a little bit like a bridge, but it's like a pre-breakdown breakdown. So you think the track's broken down, but it's still building up before it breaks down into the breakdown. Okay, so as you can see, not loads of crazy stuff going on. It just builds up nicely in chunks. Rule of thumb as well is something we change every 15 seconds. You know, we make sure something changes. So if you look at that in 15-second chunks, all the way through the track, something's added or taken away. And if you stick to that, that's a really good way of sort of working when it comes to doing your arrangement and things. So, okay, so we've got our intro. The next thing we're going to go on to is the first breakdown, which we've already spoke about earlier, but I'll just play it all so you can see how it all fits in the mix and blends together from the intro into the first drop. There we go, so you can see how you've got that contrast of sounds that really work together. So you've got your really sharp, hard-hitting leads in the build and everything, and then we've also got them nice, just sort of like Korg Legacy Collection pads and everything, working with the nice sharp things that we've got in Massive and everything, and it just ties really nicely together with the sounds. And again, we've not really done anything crazy like building effects automation and things like that, which you need to do in a lot of tracks, because we've got the balance of sounds right. So, you know, quickly coming in and out of things and chopping and changing can be just as effective as like blending things together and having big trails on your effects and things like that. Okay, so again, the rule of thumb, 15 seconds. Everything's changing after 15 seconds. And then we do the breakdown for about 45. Especially in music like this, you don't want your breakdowns too long, because it's all about sort of like the energy, and it's quite easy to lose the energy in a track when you've got a really long breakdown. Now I know there's a lot of tracks out there that have got like, you know, big 2-3 minute breakdowns, and then when they kick in they're absolutely monstrous, wicked tracks. We tend to find it's harder to find places to play tracks like that, because you need to be playing to like a huge crowd of like at least a few hundred people, because if you're going to be playing that in a smaller, dingier, darker club, you don't really sort of get the feel for it like you do when you've got like stuff that's a little bit short, a little bit more interesting, a little bit more hard hitting. Okay, so moving on from the first breakdown, we're going to our first drop, which you can see is a minute long, and everything again in 15-second chunks. You can see everything changes, and as we listen to this next section, because you can see the colour blocks, you can see, like, you know, how dramatic the changes are and how everything builds, and everything's quite in and out and quite sharp, which works with the track. So we'll play that. There we go. So everything's quite definite and sharp, and, you know, quite switchy how it all changes. And what we've done here is similar to what we've done in the intro. Is the little sort of like pre-break build kind of thing. We've used the same MIDI and everything, but instead of having the drums building and, like, you know, the snares and everything and the kicks, what we've done is we've kept the percussion going, and then what we've done is we've made the main saw bass line move almost like chords underneath everything else. So you've got the same, exactly the same going on there, but it, you know, it just builds and progresses slightly different. So another thing we've done there is where we've got the sub bass going under the main sort of like saw lead, or the mega saw. What we've done is we've switched the sub bass for the drone that we use in the breakdown, but we've got that side chained again, the same as we've got everything else side chained. So that's another important thing. Your side chain curves need to be very similar with things you're doing, otherwise you can get all sorts of pumping and sucking and blowing going on in your track, which can cause harmonic distortion, stop you being able to get things as loud, and you can make your bottom end of your track do funny things. Okay, so make sure that's pumping with everything else, and then that adds like another element under there because you've got more of a drone which builds up to the break rather than a sub. So if we play that again, you might be able to hear it on your speakers. There you can see it's very subtle, but it's a real nice, like, effective thing that you wouldn't obviously think was in there, but it works really well, and it's quite a nice technique.